clear up space. We know the real reason. You get way too much porn on there.
Hello, everybody. This is Nicholas Tanek with your kinky friends. Once again, we're here, lo-fi punk rock style, and I have a very interesting guest with me today. It's a Wednesday in 2022. We're gonna talk about adult films. We're gonna talk about Southern California. We're definitely gonna talk about horror movies and just the whole thing, the whole gamut of that. So please welcome the magnificent Kevin Deckard. Say
Thank
hi.
you. Hey, how you doing? Glad to be here.
It's good to have you. So, okay, I did a little intro, but tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a filmmaker and I guess that you'd say adult talent. Um, I based in Southern California, and I love making more cinematic content. These days everything's all sort of clip driven, and everyone just wants like to get that 5 minute nut, I guess. But I really like porn with story and production value, and there's not too many people doing that right now. So that's sort of my kink is putting acting in porn, back in porn.
That's going to be my first quote. I like porn with story and production value. It's good. I do too. Yeah, I mean the clips. What's interesting about the clips is that, especially with fetish stuff, clips kind of hit the mark. But like once you get to know the people in it, whether it's real or it's role play or whatever, then I feel you want more. You know what I
I
mean?
feel like even especially more so for the fetish content, because I mean I've been pretty active in the BDSM community for some years now, and it's so much more than just getting to the end of it, right? I mean, it's the entire process. So you want that build up, you want that story, you want the interplay of power dynamics, whatever someone's fetish is. So I've worked a lot with Agatha Delicious, from Delish Media, and all of her content, it's all story based, and it's all pretty much exclusively some sort of fetish based. And it makes sense, right? Because if you're into a particular thing, like you want to see that whole process. If I'm a foot guy and it just cuts right to a picture, it jumps right into a picture of a foot, like that's good and all, but I imagine I don't myself have a foot fetish, but I imagine there's a lot to be said for, like, the build up to the unveiling of the foot, and slowly like revealing it, and all these different things, and learning about the dynamic there. I don't know, maybe maybe it's just because I'm not exactly neurotypical, but I really enjoy all the things that come around with it.
No, I feel this exact same way. And I remember when I was kind of coming out as someone who's kinky and proud of it. You know what I mean? Not hiding it. It's not a secret or anything like that, which some people have to live that way.
Yeah.
Luckily I don't. But like I'll never forget, like I have a deep, deep love for femdom. And so I stumbled on something called Trans Fetish Video, which like stars Kendra James and Lexi Sidell and stuff like that. And I think they're all based out of Florida. And there was like actual stories involved, like like turning your hubby into like a sissy slut or whatever,
Nice.
or kidnapped, and then turned out or something like that. And of course, there's the boss secretary, turning my boss into a secretary type thing or whatever. But like there was actually stories, production, there were sets, like, and of course it is porn. So there was some kind of, it was, it wasn't like Macbeth acting, but, they were doing stuff that, a lot of actors weren't doing. And a lot of
Well, I think a lot of that's like the cutting edge too. I mean, in that we have the freedom not just as indie filmmakers, but because we're still considered so transgressive and underground, that we can really do a lot of experimental things, and people will give you a fair amount of leeway. Like, I mean, there's a lot of haters out there that'll complain about this and that, but at least when I'm watching something, like I know that there's no budget for this. And if the acting isn't 100% perfect, honestly, it's a little bit of the charm for me.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. And especially, I think that people who are in the business, um, can really embrace that
Sure.
in a way, even more than the people who are just using it as a sexual release or anything. But yeah, people get involved in the story, and actually, the make believe, so to speak, makes them more human
Sure, of course. Yeah.
in many
Yeah.
ways, if that makes any sense at all.
It does, right? I mean, like it's escapism fantasy, but we still want to be able to identify with them, right? I mean,
Definitely.
that's at least on some level why we're watching it.
And oh, I want to before we go further, I want to shout out two wonderful people who connected us together, Wolvie Iron Bear and Sam Hell.
Both
Uh,
wonderful, wonderful people who are actually both integral parts of the current project I'm working on.
oh, so can you talk about the current project?
Yeah, so I can probably get you a teaser link that I haven't actually shared publicly yet. So I guess we could do it as an exclusive for you guys right after this.
Nice.
I literally just before we started up, I closed Premiere because I'm still editing the first thing. But I'm doing a cyberpunk feature film. That's an adult feature film with costumes and production value and special effects. And Coda is actually the lead in it, one of the leads. And Sam Hell is doing some of the cinematography, which I've learned the hard way that if you, in the vanilla Hollywood world, director of photography, the person holding the camera is often referred to as the DP.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start talking about DP in adult film, people get very confused very quickly when it's the guy holding the camera. Like, wait a minute, I didn't agree to DP. Like, no, 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 no.
Oh, Wolvie Iron Bear chimes in. Oh, I love
Oh,
Wolvie. Thank you for the shout out. Loving this interview. Oh, we love
Wolvie is
you,
a
Wolvie.
gem of a person. Just a really, really great person. When I was planning out this project, they were the first person that came to mind to me for this character, which is kind of a Blade Runner-ish homage, a very cyberpunk sort of love letter. So it'll be a feature film, but I'm releasing it in episodes, so that way I can. Yes, that's a great name, Stan. Cyberpunk 2069. I'm going to release it in episodic format, so that way it kind of forces me to edit as I go along, and I actually catch issues earlier, and that way I can kind of get the content out quicker. And then once everything's done, I can re-edit all the episodes into the full actual feature film. So I'm really excited.
That's actually really cool because as a fan, if you start out, or just even like if you start out, you could see the creative process as it unfolds.
Yeah.
And, like, if you think about it, like when the Star Wars or Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, they weren't all released in one shot.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
part of it was the anticipation of the next one. You know what I mean? So releasing it in episodic format
Helps keep that interest sort of flowing.
definitely.
Yeah.
Now your last name's Deckard. You're talking about cyberpunks, and you mentioned Blade Runner. I have a love for that movie, the original Blade Runner. Now let me ask you a question. First of all, do you think? Forget about the sequel.
Hmm.
Do you think that Deckard was a replicant or not?
So I know they like to try to play it up quite a bit. I think he ultimately was not. I think they wanted to play back and forth with the idea of humanity and what that means, and the fact that we and himself perhaps were doubting the whole time was I think part of the point. But there's famously like a couple different cuts where they kind of makes it lean more one way than the other. But I like to think that he ultimately was just a meat sack. But I think he would have had challenges as doing some of the Voight-Kampff testing, honestly, if he were a replicant. I don't really see most people talking about that, but certainly, obviously, the people on the other side of it. But without getting too nerdy, which
No,
I can
you can nerd out all you want, man. Especially with Blade Runner. What's interesting is that I don't know if you know this, but Blade Runner plays a big role in hip hop music.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm not as versed in the hip hop world. The
Well,
closest I get to pop is the Witch House, but
there's a guy called LP. He's in a group called Run the Jewels.
okay, I've heard of that. Yeah,
A very, very popular. LP before he was in Run the Jewels, he was in something called Company Flow. Then he did solo stuff. He was obsessed with Blade Runner, and yeah, he was obsessed with Blade. And even Tricky, the DJ Tricky, samples Blade Runner in a song called
cool.
Aftermath. When it just goes, tell me about your mother, like in the beginning when but yeah,
one of my first exposures to Tricky was maybe a track he did on the Spawn soundtrack. But
that could be it. Now let's talk about sex in movies. I love watching films about films, documentaries, especially about films. I just saw Out of Print about the New Beverly Cinema.
Nice. You might really like the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent then, because it's very meta.
Yeah. I definitely want to see that.
I just saw it last night. It was hilarious. Very meta, but I think well done. Like not too I don't know, cheesy about it. I was laughing. I thought it was funny. Nick Cage has basically been playing a parody of himself for years now, and it's great. He's just owning it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, okay. Before we get into sex and violence in movies, Stan asks, if someone gives you the chance to reboot Species, would you do it?
In order to do it justice, that would really need a big budget. So people hit me up pretty regularly on my ManyVids account because I do customs, and the income I make from customs helps fund my passion projects. So if anyone has custom concepts, hit me up, and I might be able to work with your budget. But sometimes people will hit me up and they'll hand me basically a feature film script, and I'm looking at them like, okay, like this is doable, but we would need to book locations. I'd need to, this would take a cast of about 20 people. I'd need to have a few people on crew. Like, you want an explosion in there. We can do these things, but it's going to cost, $30,000 to do this or something. They're like, I didn't realize it. Like, well, it's not just a dude fucking a chick in a bedroom. I mean, like, there's only so much I can do. But sometimes I can work with people and figure out how we can kind of cheat things. Like, all right, we could do a digital explosion here. What if we green screen this? What if instead of 20 people in the orgy, it's a three-way, something like that, But I honestly love doing customs because it kind of forces me to think outside the box and get outside my comfort zone and be creative in different ways. But yeah, so in order to do Species right, it would have to have like a solid budget.
I'm telling you, I've been trying to get this project off the ground. Record store dominatrix.
Nice.
Think about it. You go to a record store, all these, like, first of all, I come from the record store culture, but you go to a record store, people are always in love with like the woman behind the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman behind the counter treats anybody who, like, with poor taste, she treats them like shit.
That degradation king going there. Yeah.
They keep coming back for more. So it's like, why not, dude? Like, and you make it real, like, soaked with music references of all different kinds. You know what I mean?
That'd be hilarious. Yeah.
I just actually, speaking of record stores, I just saw a documentary on Other Music. Other Music's a record store, big famous record store in New York City that closed up, and it's really like a love letter to physical media. So what's your opinion on the death of physical media? Like, there was a documentary, actually Keanu Reeves produced it, called Side by Side, which is about the difference between film and digital media. And do you find it, what's your opinion on the difference of physical media versus digital media?
Yeah, I am very much against the idea that physical media is dead. I get it from a practical standpoint, in that the average person doesn't want to have physical things lying around, and they like the convenience of just being able to press a button and hit play. But I think there's a difference between simply consuming content and art that you actually like really love. I still buy CDs from bands that I really love. Even if it's easier for me to stream it on radio, like, I want that physical thing, something maybe I can take to a show, have them sign or something like that. Same with DVDs or Blu-rays. particularly with, even more so with movies. Like music's been a little more stable, but with video, it seems like it's very easy for content to get pulled from one platform to another, and it's really frustrating because you are enjoying, like, trying to be able to watch something, and suddenly now it's no longer on Netflix, or it's no longer here or there, and it's ridiculous. Um, and yeah, I think physical media has a really, really important place in our culture, and it's something that we shouldn't just get rid of the idea of. Maybe we need to do more to make it more compelling to have earned its place on your shelf. But I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah, me too. Like, for example, I wrote a book called Your Kinky Friends. And my story about, Lynn, she passed away. And this is all about how the fetish community and the kink community kind of saved my life. But I like having a physical book in my hands. I like, because you could do all this stuff with it. You could look at it. You could look at the back. You could look I put a soundtrack at the end of it. You know what I mean? There's dedication. There's forwards. There's, same thing with records and film. And that's what's really wild. And I heard that with digital media, they have to put machines in to preserve digital media, because years from now they're going to need to know how to play it. So they put a machine in with the film. So,
well, at least for the digital stuff, it's all digital, right? So all they have to do is just copy it from one source to another as time goes on. But hopefully someone's actually doing that. Um, one nice thing about physical, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse in that we've had so much artwork lost to fires over the years, but at the same time, suddenly you find a reel in Tasmania of lost episodes of Doctor Who from the first season or something like this, and it's stuff that people thought was gone forever. And I don't know, maybe the equivalent is somebody made a random backup on an old drive somewhere. I don't know, but
oh yeah. And just find, like, going through old VHS tapes, stuff that you'd tape, off TV or something like that. There's stuff, because like you tape over stuff, so like you could watch something and then all of a sudden what you taped over like is left over, and you see that and you're like, oh my God, I forgot about this movie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then when it comes to physical media, I was watching a documentary about New Beverly Cinema, and they destroyed complete movies just for the silver and silver screen. And there are, like, especially like silent movies, older silent movies and stuff like that, they're gone forever because some the owners or whatever wanted the money for the silver from the film. Okay, so let's get back into sex and film.
Sure.
It seems like in the horror genre, it kind of sneaks up in there. For example, there, when exploitation movies came around, a lot of it was large-breasted women, scantily clad, and people didn't want anything to do with that. They wanted, but they didn't want to admit that. And and then as soon violence was brought into it, it seemed okay. So why do you think it is, even today in society, it's okay to have brutal, graphic violence, but God forbid they show a clitoris or or a nudity or of any kind?
At least from an American cultural standpoint, I think that's a pretty easy one to answer, and it's because of our puritanical background. As our American culture developed, I mean that was a very strong driving force, and it continues to affect our cultural mores to this day, whether we like it or not. And we have to be aware of that and try to work around that if possible.
Definitely. And what about unsimulated sex scenes? For example, there's Antichrist, Lars von Trier's Antichrist.
Amazing, amazing, brutal.
I love it too. I think it's too. Some people are disgusted by it. It's like some people are disgusted by Sallow.
Yeah. Antichrist is one of those things where you have to be in a good headspace to watch it, because it's very easy to feel very depressed afterwards.
Oh yeah, yeah. Coming blood will do that for you, and
Yeah,
cutting off a
exactly.
clitoris with scissors will do that for you. But yeah, so and then there's what I probably pronouncing his name wrong, but Gaspar Noé.
Gaspar Noe, yeah.
Gaspar Noé. Like there was Climax and Love. Well, oh no, Climax doesn't have any of that in it, but Climax is a damn good movie. Holy shit, I just saw that recently. Um, but stuff like Love and I think even Irreversible has
Oh, yeah,
some
yeah.
unsimulated sex. What's your opinion of this kind of new extremity? That's what they'd call it. That was like the genre that journalists came up with, like the new French extremity. Even though Lars von Trier is Dutch. What's your opinion of that kind of movement?
Well, I mean, I think it helps legitimize a bit some of the work that we're trying to do, right? Which is important because it makes life a little bit easier for us, and hopefully people become more accepting of sex work in general as time goes on. It seems like that's the trend, but it's slow going. It's such slow going.
Definitely, yeah. And okay, so what hurdles as a filmmaker, especially someone who uses sex in the either custom or in your passion projects, whatever, what are some of the main hurdles that you have encountered, that you have overcome actually, or are still trying to overcome?
Well, I mean, not having access to budget is a huge one, but that's more of a practical standpoint. Um, One hurdle is because of how our society treats these things is the need to keep one's SW and kink identity separate from your more vanilla identities because of work and family issues, and it sucks not being able to truly be yourself with everyone that you know and love, and from a marketing standpoint, it makes things a little more difficult from being able to properly promote too. So definitely a challenge.
Okay, definitely. And now, how do you get actors? Because like there is uh like a stigma. People don't want to do adult films, and people are proud to do adult films. It
Mhm.
seems. And so how do you get like not only just actors willing to do it, but the right actors willing to do it? That actually fit the part. Just finding someone who fits the part is one thing, but then having them willing to do what is needed for the part on camera is a whole other ball game as well. I believe, right?
Yeah, well, I feel I feel that it's easier for me to um, work with work around someone's limitations and figure out how to get the most out of a particular performance than to uh, try to go out of my way to find somebody who's going to be like some sort of pinnacle of acting ability or something like that. That seems like that works a lot better for me.
Okay. Have you seen the television show Minx by any chance?
I have not. I have not.
Oh, it's about a it's it's about it's loosely, very loosely based on the woman who invented Playgirl magazine. And but she uses basically the porn industry
Mm,
to get her feminist ideologies out there. And the money came from basically a man who did porn basically, and produced this magazine that had male centerfolds and stuff like that. And it all takes place in the 70s. Carrie Brownstein from Sleater Kinney and Portlandia directed, I think, one or two episodes. It's definitely interesting. Anybody who's in the adult industry, I think, will dig it. And
nice.
it definitely would. It flips it on it. It's not just you know um, like 8 millimeter. It's not like it doesn't kind of like live up to that stereotype. Now let's talk about stereotype of adult filmmaking. How true is that stereotype that is portrayed that, in like mainstream films of adult filmmakers, like movies like Hardcore and 8 millimeter and stuff like that.
How true in what way?
Like, how true is it to real life?
Oh, you mean like is it documentary kind of for
Well,
those?
not that like 8 millimeter is no documentary, but like or Hardcore is no documentary or anything like that. But just the depiction of
Yeah.
the culture and the industry and the people behind the industry.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's certainly maybe some elements that can be true in certain situations, but I would say that as long as you're dealing with good people, like I don't think you have to worry about too much of that stuff. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay, so now let's say I have an idea, but I have no experience in the industry at all. I have no experience with production. I have no experience with actors. I have no experience, with cinematography or licensing or any of that stuff. But I have a dream. What would you say to that person?
I'd say go for it. Absolutely. I mean, so the best way to learn is by doing, and I'm sure you're familiar with Lloyd Kaufman.
Oh, of course, trauma.
Right. So his big thing is, he wrote a book and a little movie called "Make Your Own Damn Movie," and the biggest thing he talks about in there is really just fucking go out and do it, because that's how you learn. That's how you get better. That's how we make things happen. Um, and I think that's there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, definitely. Sam Hell. Shout out to Sam Hell again.
Great guy.
He was he said he worked on a couple of trauma movies, and so did Wolvie. Yeah, and look, Kaufman's from New Jersey. I'm from
Yep.
New Jersey, home of the Toxic Avenger. And that shit used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like, I mean, I saw the first horror movie that really got me was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice,
Um,
nice. Such a good movie. That's probably my favorite horror film of all time. And I think one of the things I love about it the most, honestly, is the sound design.
oh
Um,
god.
I think people watching it now, they see a lot of things that are maybe they feel maybe are like overdone or overplayed. But I mean, that's one of the places where they came from. So yeah, that's a great, great, great movie.
Yeah, and supposedly Toby Hooper was like, yeah, this could be a PG movie. You'd be fine. And if you think about it, there's not really much violence in it, like on screen.
There really isn't. There's almost no blood in the movie.
Yeah.
People don't realize that, but almost no blood.
Yeah. I mean, it's creepy as can be, but there's no blood.
Exactly.
So okay, let's talk about horror films. You're a fan of horror and
Yep.
also post-apocalyptic movies as
Yep.
well. And so if you were gonna, off the top of your head, what would you say maybe like, the top 3 to 5 horror movies that you love?
Off the top of my head, the top 3 to 5 horror movies I love.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
So, gosh, that's a tough question. Obviously, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love the first two Hellraiser movies.
Oh yeah. The
Those have
second one in the maze.
yeah, just great stuff. Those hold like a special place in my heart. I mean, I love a lot of the old slashers too. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Even though they're mass market appeal popcorn flicks, I love them so much. Sam Raimi's early work was so experimental and so crazy. I mean, non-consensual tree intercourse scene. I
Yeah.
mean, he couldn't do that today. There's no way. And I mean,
And no one's doing that today.
yeah. Yeah. So things in those in that ballpark for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's the early Evil Dead stuff. And what's wild about Evil Dead is that as a kid, because I grew up a video store kid, and I was always kind of attracted to horror movies, and being really young, I originally was scared of them. And then the more I watched them, the more I realized how funny they can be,
Exactly.
and how just batshit crazy and out there. And Evil Dead is like funny to me now.
Oh,
You know what I
totally.
mean?
I mean, it was a horror comedy then too, but at least now we can
Yeah.
kind of appreciate it a little more.
So what is okay? I gotta admit this because I'm very curious. Anybody who's into kind of indie horror films, what's your opinion on the Human Centipede?
So the first one I enjoyed. The
Uh-oh.
Yeah, in fact,
I'm sorry. You just you cut out right after the first one I enjoyed.
yeah, the first one I enjoyed. The follow up ones, not quite as much. Um, I mean, they're great, what's his name? Dieter Laser Dieter. Like he steals the film in the one he's in, and it's just like I could just watch him do like whatever because he's just amazing. But definitely the first one I think was pretty good. I mean, Tom Six has done some pretty interesting work for sure. Um, he's got one that's supposed to be coming up. The Onania Club.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
going to
know.
ask you about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's still sort of like pending or something. I don't know.
John Waters put it in his one of his favorite movies of the year.
Oh, so it's been completed.
Oh, it's completed. The problem is, and here's the controversy: he can't find a distributor.
That's
He
amazing.
says it's so out there because I mean it's about basically a group of very powerful women in Los Angeles
Hmm.
who literally get off on other people's misery. So like in the trailer, they're watching video of 9/11 of the planes going in and the buildings crumbling and they're masturbating to it. You know what I mean? That's the trailer.
That,
No,
that also sounds like something that John Waters would be about.
yeah, and supposedly, and this has been going on for like I think almost 5 years now. He can't get it released. IFC won't touch it. All these, and now it's to a point where some people are thinking, well, he just wants money. He just like he because I don't think the human centipedes really make that much money. I mean, are they that profitable? If you look at like box office returns, are they? I don't know.
And at this point, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and but so some people are very skeptical of the fact that he's just holding out on a distributor who will pay him money
Hmm.
and saying that a distributor doesn't want to touch it because the content is so
Uh,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. That's definitely a problem.
That's definitely so yeah. So when it comes to distribution, you make a movie, it's got violence and sex in it, unsimulated sex in it. How do you go about finding a distributor? Do you distribute it yourself or
I'm the wrong person to ask about that because that's something I'm struggling with right now. In that, uh, I'm so a lot of my stuff goes up on my many vids. My last feature film, Amazons of the Apocalypse, which had fantastic production value and we wound up shooting on red cameras even. Just everything came together for that. Currently, is getting ready to get released on the Sam Hell, one of Sam Hell's distribution platforms. But I've been trying to connect up with bigger distributors that might be interested in doing something with narrative feature film porn, but haven't really gotten any traction. So if anybody knows anybody, my goal is more just getting it out there.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd love to talk.
Oh, definitely. Well, hopefully, you'd be surprised. I, I was going through health problems, and people were sending me like recipes and links
Oh, that's amazing.
and all that stuff. Yeah, so you'd be surprised what getting the word out there could do. Um, okay, so when it comes to now, you've been in adult films as well, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. I most of the content I make, unless it's a custom that like specifically doesn't have any male talent in it. Like if there's male talent, then if it fits for me to be in it, I'll be in it, and that's one less actor that I have to try to raise funds for. So plus I love doing it, so that's a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
I do all kinds of stuff. I've been eaten many times by Agatha Delicious. I've had witches, cast spells on me. I've been attacked by uh, lesbian post-apocalyptic tribes, all sorts of things. So I love doing it.
Oh, God. Wait, say it again. You've been what with post-apocalyptic lesbian tribes?
Yeah, you got to watch Amazons of the Apocalypse to check it out. In fact, remind me later. I'll send you a press review link so you can check it out.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So now, when it comes to like literally physically performing, right, and getting an erection, maintaining an erection, um, is this something all in your mind? Is this something that you kind of got to like practice? Is it the
It's definitely 100% mental, and I'll tell you, um, I never would have been able to do any of this if it weren't for the kink community helping me feel more comfortable in my own skin. Because you go to a dungeon and you see people of all different shapes and sizes, and ages and such, all having a great time and just being comfortable being out there, and it's helped me, feel more comfortable being nude and performing on film in a very unsexy environment. As I'm sure when you've got a bunch of other people in the room all standing there, cameras like right up in your taint. It can be a little intimidating at first. No, I mean, also sometimes the environment comes into play. So when we were filming Amazons of the Apocalypse, some of it was at an abandoned, derelict cement plant outside a few hours outside of Vegas in the Nevada desert, and it was like 119 degrees outside, and we're shooting inside this one building that was basically uh, like covered in metal siding, and so it wound up making it like an oven in there, and everyone was doing okay, but like, oh man, I was sweating so hard. It was a miracle I was able to get erection in there, but yeah, a lot of that comes into play too.
So now when I think of stuff like that, I also think of films like Boogie Nights. First of all, what's your opinion on Boogie Nights?
Oh, I haven't seen it in so long. I remember enjoying it, but it was a long time ago when I watched it. That came out. When did that come out? That was in like the early 2000s,
Hmm.
late 90s, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I remember there was like because it also takes place like during the time in the 70s, and in the 80s when cocaine was very like present. I mean, it's still has been present, still is present.
Yeah, I don't think it ever went anywhere.
Yeah, but I think it went through this like boom, especially in that time. Maybe it was just more out there in front, you know, as opposed to kind of behind the camera. But it can affect, maintaining an erection and stuff like that and stuff like that. So, what do you do if either you or an actor or something like that, like maybe ejaculates too soon or can ejaculate on at the time or something like that? How do you deal with that?
So I haven't really come across the problem too much of premature ejaculation for any of the performers or for myself, but sometimes it's difficult to ejaculate. Just people are exhausted, or just too many other environmental things going on, and just sometimes it's all mental, right? And so you just take a break and let everybody kind of catch their breath, and maybe move on to doing something else, and you can come back and finish up whatever needs to get finished up. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like if someone's just if their hardware is just not cooperating, it is what it is, and you're there to make a film. So if you can try and work around it, but it happens. It happens very often to a lot of different people.
Okay, definitely.
And I think honestly, that's probably an important thing to communicate too, because especially when I first got started, I didn't know a lot of other male talent. And so, you wonder like, is this something that other people occasionally face? And the more I talk to people, the more I understand like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. It's a common thing. And so you just have to work around it.
Well, I mean, that's actually a great attitude to have, and that attitude probably makes the actors and the performers just more comfortable.
Oh yeah, I mean, putting more pressure on someone's definitely not going to help.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look at Stanley Kubrick and Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I heard that too. So yeah, what is your opinion with directors who kind of go to extremes to get the performances? Like, for example, there's Stanley Kubrick and Shelley Duvall in The Shining. There was oh my god, even even like Tommy Wiseau in The Room.
I
You
know
know
people that have worked with him.
what?
I know people that have worked with Tommy.
Yeah, how was he to work with? Would you?
Apparently, just as he is on film, just total nut. So what you see is what you get.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. No, I look. I mean, the actors are people too, and I'm a big proponent of. First off, everything has to be consensual,
Yes.
and directors abusing their talent in order to get a particular performance out of them. Fuck all that. I'm not about that at all. At all. Um, Maybe if there's some sort of like pre-agreed sort of like conversation about like, hey, I really want you to push me, blah 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 blah. But these aren't. I don't think those are the people we're talking about. But I really don't support people abusing talent at all.
Just to get a performance. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or period. I mean, everybody
Oh
deserves
yeah.
with
Sure.
respect.
Very good point. Very good point. So let me ask you a question. How did you get into this? Like, was it something? Some people kind of fall into the industry. Some people are kind of born into the industry, but do the nepotism. Some people really just want to seek it out and try it. Then you got the people like, especially with California, what's it? Every day people come off the bus, so to speak.
I
And
believe it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I'm of the group that just kind of fell into it. I've got some film background and wound up making a lot of connections with people who were in the industry, and just made some good friends, and then started helping out with some of their projects, and then helping out became more than helping out, and became uh, you know acting as talent, and then I'd start getting ideas for things I wanted to do, and here I am.
okay, so what's some advice so for someone who wants to be in the industry or is curious about the industry? What's like a bit of advice that you would give to them, but they have no experience with dealing with the industry, whether in literally a creative project or just the industry itself.
I mean, that's a big question. I mean, first, definitely treat everybody with respect. You're not going to get anywhere by harassing people, and people hit me up pretty regularly, say, sort of like demanding help, or demanding, that I teach them or something like this, and it's like, buddy, fuck off, like, like I'm all about sharing knowledge, but like, I don't know you from Adam, and I don't know you anything. But be real, and maybe find some. Ideally, if you can find people locally, that's a great place to start. But if not, make some real connections with people online that might be in the industry that you respect, and build a friendship with them, and see if they're willing to answer your questions, and give you some advice on how to start up. So
Interesting. And that's what like I was thinking about, you know, being local. Most everybody like my whole thing started out as local. And when it comes to either punk rock music or hip hop and independent filmmaking, being, using your local resources and representing where you're from,
mm,
I think plays a major part. That's what like Trauma, excuse me, is New Jersey. Even Kevin Smith is from New Jersey, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I think that really plays a major role of like where you're coming from. And this brings me to another point, not just like Kevin Smith, but stuff like Tim and Eric. You know what I
Oh, I
mean?
love Tim and Eric. Yeah,
I love Tim and Eric too. And what Tim and Eric is known for, poking fun of the LA lifestyle.
yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. Because it's just so artificial and ridiculous. I mean, it deserves to have fun poked at.
and then you got like Kevin Smith doing like Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which really kind of celebrates, but makes fun of at the same time, celebrates filmmaking in the porn industry as well. You know what I mean? Some people, like I've done interviews with people with some very unique fetishes, and that I don't know. You got to have a sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm personally not making fun of that fetish. To each his own and stuff like that. But there's humor in it. It's like, for
Oh,
example,
it totally is. I don't care what your fetish is. I mean, the fact that it's a fetish means that it's not mainstream and means that there's probably some humor in there that can be poked at.
so you're okay with like people kind of having fun and bringing humor into porn movies, basically.
So in fact, I always include as extras a blooper reel
Nice.
with the films that we do because of a couple reasons. One, I want to show I think it's funny, and often it's hilarious. And two, I want people to see that we are having fun. And three, that we're all people too, and that like you're watching a scene and the illusion is that it's one continuous thing happening, but the reality is that sometimes we have to stop because your dick slips out and you accidentally like crunch it into somebody's lower back and you have to stop for a second, or somebody falls over or a light falls down or something like this. I mean, this stuff happens and it's fucking hilarious.
You actually you can make a whole compilation just of porn blooper reels. I'm sure people would.
That's a great idea. Once I have enough content, I'll totally do that.
Yeah. I would definitely watch that in a second. I would definitely want, and also what's interesting about blooper reels, you could how the actor reacts to it. Like some actors, they just move on, they move forward like it didn't happen. Some use it, to the
yeah.
And to be in a porn movie is can be stressful enough because it's image and performance and stuff like that, and then someone throws like a monkey wrench in the whole thing, like
It just depends on what happens. Like I'm all about trying to move through, like if a light falls down or something, like just keep going until the director. My whole thing is always go until the director calls cut. Now if I'm the director, I'm thinking like, can I work around that in the editing room? Like, are we good? Yeah, we're good. No, let's keep going. But sometimes something ridiculous happens and everybody busts up laughing, including the cameraman. It's like, yeah, okay, you gotta cut.
Okay, now let's talk about the editing process. I wrote 3 books, and this is everyone works different, but this is the way I work. I kind of get it out of me onto the paper, right? And it's a big mess. Think of it like, hate to say it, but like think of it as like ejaculation.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Once it's on the paper, like that's the ovary, and then like we have to move the ejaculate to get the eggs, and then we have to move it around. Sometimes the process of getting it out is awesome. Sometimes the process of editing is the most fun. What do you like? Do you like one part of the process better than the other? Like making them or the idea of the movie, because that's where it starts. Then it's getting everybody together. Then it's the actual filming and production, and then it's the actual release and promotion. What aspect of that whole process would you feel do you feel that you like the best?
Well, I definitely suck at promotion, so I definitely don't do well there. Uh, I really love like the big picture stuff, and then actually making the movie. The pre-planning is I'm good at, but it's difficult because it's like herding cats sometimes, especially if you're trying to do a more complex project, trying to get everything together. It's not just getting a couple people in a room. There's so many other things that have to come together for it. And editing can be a lot of fun. Sometimes I do have a lot of fun with it, and I'm decent at it. But sometimes you're like, I've got 3 cameras and none of them got exactly kind of the angle I needed for this scene. So you have to kind of like, I guess it's sort of like an artist thing, where you're never fully satisfied with like the shade of the paint you put on the paper or the intonation of the note you plucked on your guitar. Like that, you always kind of want to tweak just a little bit. So I feel like once I start getting into editing, it's a process of compromise, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah. Like I have to be honest with myself, like, okay, will this work? Yes, then it's good enough. and still honors, you know, the artistic integrity of the concept I had for that scene.
Definitely. Okay. And yeah, like with me, especially, I mean, I don't write romance novels, but I do write love stories. Like they're honest love. I can't write fiction. It's all I write. I'm good. I know my strength. My strength is nonfiction. I could change the names and just call it fiction for legal reasons, But when writing about sex, it's the words that some of these romance authors use horrible terms for sex organs.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I've seen some of the memeified ones, and I mean, you don't have to have any kind of training or license to release a story, and that's very obvious sometimes.
That's good. It's a good point. That's a good point. All right, so let's get back into sex and talk about sex. Um, outside, obviously this is something you have a love for, filmmaking and you know, basically adult movies and things like that. Do you have any kind of personal turn ons or fetishes that that you either want to incorporate into your films, or that you just keep personal on your side, or that you explore in on film as well as real life? What are you into?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I definitely enjoy. I personally identify as a switch
Me too.
in terms of kink. So I find myself more often than not, partly just because it's what our culture sort of expects to be by default in a more dom or top, type situation. Obviously, those are separate things, but and so I definitely enjoy when the tables are turned and I get to be the victim of, like, a femdom type situation. I think that's a lot of fun, especially when you're working with great performers like Elodie Lee, or Agatha, or some of the other folks I've worked with. I would say definitely one of my fetishes is cream pies. I definitely love cream pie porn, and it's uh, often a feature of a lot of the content that I do. And so, yeah, I think that comes into play quite a bit. Might be a little bit of a breeding fetish in there.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Definitely. Now, I know what a cream pie is. You know what a cream pie is. For people who don't know what a cream pie is, can you please explain?
Oh, so I had assumed this was uh, an audience that was well versed in this.
You'd be surprised. Yeah, trust me. A lot of most of the true heads, the true fans, they know exactly what cream pies are.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, cream pie is when you ejaculate inside your partner, and you get to see it dripping out in all of its glory there. So it can be pretty much in any orifice, male or female. Generally, is a cream pie.
Okay. Okay. And then yeah, you have the breeding fetish, and that's something that is a lot more popular, I think, but not as expressed outwardly to so many people. A breeding fetish is basically, um, you know, what it sounds like. It's breeding someone. It's
Yep,
taking a woman and you know, getting them pregnant, basically, and
or at
that
least the risk of it.
or the risk of it. Yeah, and it's usually it's like I said, this is consensual. This is safe consensual stuff, and it's a lot of it's role play, um, and stuff like that. What is it about the breeding fetish that you that people seem to like so much?
I mean, I can speak mostly for myself, but I think it's
Okay.
a generalized thing. I think the risk, the danger aspect is definitely something exciting. And then I think on a much deeper, more primal level, I mean, we are biologically hardwired to want to procreate, and so I think being able to tap into that sort of like deep primal kind of energy is something I really enjoy doing.
Okay. All right, great. Now, soundtracks.
Yeah.
Soundtracks. I am a huge music lover.
Oh, you're
Uh,
gonna love this new project I'm doing. Then I've got all this original music from so many different groups on it. It's I'm over the hill, like so happy.
And what is the title of this new project?
So it's called Cybersex: Illegal Upgrade. One of the challenges with titling things with adult films is, even if it's cliche, it has to be clear enough just from the title when people are looking at vast catalogs of different things that people have an idea of what they're going to get, but like immediately. Um, so you have to make some compromises there.
Yeah. No, I don't like, yeah, I don't want for example, Antichrist
Yeah,
um
yeah,
is like we were talking about before, is a good movie. Some people either it's definitely a divisive title, you know what I mean? And if you don't really look into kind of the lack of a better word, the poetry of the film,
mm,
then you know, people are gonna expect like a horror movie about the devil, you know, you know, in a way it is if you would think about it, but it's not like outwardly, out there. So I believe that titles should really kind of give you an idea of what you're getting into when it
yeah,
comes to the movie. Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. So, like for example, I have
Just somebody tell that to Jordan Peele, I guess.
Get Out. Okay, then, well, let's talk about Jordan Peele. What did you think of Get Out, and what do you think
Oh,
about him?
I thought it was good. I mean, I think he can be maybe a little heavy-handed on some of the political commentary, but I totally get what he's trying to do, and I'm very excited to see his new film called Nope.
Yeah,
Which,
no,
uh, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I've only seen the trailer for it, but he's an excellent filmmaker.
yeah,
I think
definitely.
he definitely puts together very visually exciting things that have a lot of deep connections inside the film too. Sometimes maybe a little overly, like to a point, but yeah, I definitely like his stuff.
And speaking of like social commentary and stuff like that, George Romero,
Yeah, yeah.
George Romero, when he came out with Night of the Living Dead, obviously there's the social commentary comes with that, and then you got Dawn of the Dead, which is a wonderful commentary on consumerism,
Hmm.
and society. That the remake, although the remake was fun, it didn't have that deep commentary like that the original had, stuff like that. Do you interject that kind of social commentary, or just any, whether it's subtle or blatant? Do you inject that into your work?
Maybe subtly, but mainly because I'm so escapist in my fantasy, in the media I consume. There's so much shit going on in the world. Like I watch a film because I want to escape, and I'll be the first to admit that it's a privilege that I can, it's a luxury that I can, sit somewhere and be able to do that. But I tend to keep things somewhat separate from my art, just because I want it to have a broad appeal, and I think the commentary that's in there is implicit rather than explicit. I'll put it that way.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and we're talking about soundtracks before, so
Yeah.
you have all this original music in your upcoming project. Um, Now, one thing about writing a book with me, I could mention different songs, and I don't have to pay copyright.
Right.
I don't need
Yeah.
licensing or anything, just to mention like I was the song this song was playing. You know what I mean? Because it's all up into the mind of the reader. But have you, when it comes to filmmaking, when it deals with licensing and copyright issues and stuff like that, have you had any issues regarding that, or and how, for someone who's aspiring filmmaker, they're going to have to deal with it eventually,
Yeah.
what
Don't get
advice would you
anywhere.
give to them?
I don't recommend getting anywhere near that, because that's just such a big mess. Like unless you've got enough of a budget where you can really do all that stuff right, I wouldn't want to touch it. So I'm either using public domain stuff, or I'm blessed that I have a lot of friends that are people who make music and give me permission to use their stuff.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was we were talking about Kevin Smith. There's that movie Tusk, that he came. You ever see that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There, so I think it was like half the budget of the movie was just them licensing the song Tusk by Fleetwood Mac.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I had not heard that. That's amazing.
And there's this great show. It's on Adult Swim called Joe Pera Talks with You,
Okay.
and it's Adult Swim, so it's like
Yeah.
very Tim and Eric. It's a live action show. It's very Tim and Eric, and there's this one
Their live
episode.
action stuff on Adult Swim right now is gonzo. It's
Oh, it's so good. And Joe Pera is great because like he's a very wholesome person, and he's very very funny, and he the whole entire like a majority of the production, the money for the season was from just to license Bobo O'Reilly by the Who for the it's
wow.
done. It's used very well. I think it's the episode with he does church announcements and he stops his church announcements. He goes, "Have you ever heard of the Who?" And he just starts talking. He goes, "There's this." He just like stops everything in the middle of church and just like starts babbling about the Who and Baba O'Reilly and stuff like that. Like him discovering it for the first time and how it changed his life. It is hilarious. Definitely check it out.
I
Like
will. I'll
you,
check it out.
it's only like 10 minutes long. The show is only 10 minutes long. It's brilliant. It almost had me in tears. Like because it's funny, but it's also like very poignant in a way, you know.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So okay, we're kind of winding it down. Who would you say? You did name drop some people, which is great, but who would you say some of your biggest influences, whether they're well known, popular, from the past, living dead, friends, or whatever? Who are some of the people who have influenced you in your career?
Oh, so that's yeah, a lot of people. So a friend of mine who goes by Grindhouse Selector definitely has been a big influence on me. Sam Hill has been a big influence. He's a amazing example of the brilliant art that you can create on a very very small budget. Um, and like I mentioned, Lloyd Kaufman has been a huge influence on me. Um, I've worked with some Hollywood, more vanilla directors who I probably can't name drop here, but they make a lot of low budget films in the indie world, and being able to see how they're able to work with a low budget and just make art with what they've got access to has been very influential for me.
Okay, cool. And all right, so um, besides this one new project coming up, what else should we look out for?
Yeah, so
You mentioned the new project again.
Yep. So it's called Cybersex Illegal Upgrade, and I just sent you the exclusive teaser trailer link. So feel free to do what thou wilt with it. Um, but I'll have some other clip stuff coming out soon too. Of course, working on some customs coming up. I've got already the next couple projects sort of planned out. I can't talk about just yet, but from a feature film standpoint, because I have to focus my energy on this one before I start focusing my energy on the next one. But yeah, lots of good stuff. So follow my socials and you'll see what we got coming.
Awesome, wonderful,
And of course, always happy to work on customs to help fund those projects.
great. And okay, speaking of customs, as a filmmaker doing custom projects, you put your signature on it, of course,
Mhm.
but this is someone else's baby, so to speak. So without naming names, of course, what would you say is I don't want to. I'm not making fun. What would you say the most interesting request that you've gotten?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten some really out there stuff before, and I have to shut down the ones that are going to be clearly abusive or perhaps not legal um, to shoot. I've gotten, like I think I'd mentioned earlier, requests to do, a 17-page script, and the guy had a budget of like a few $100. I'm like, yeah, buddy, like that's, unless you shoot this yourself on your phone with friends, like there's no way that's happening. Like, and even then, um, you just have to be realistic. But I mean, there's a lot of interesting fetish stuff that I've done. So there's belly button fetish stuff. There's giantess, giant woman stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, a lot of the not vor but kind of vor sort of stuff where being cannibalistically eaten. That's fun stuff.
And you've been eaten several times.
Yeah, probably 4 or 5 at this point. I'd have to, well, you lose count after a while. But yeah, that kind of stuff.
Have they made like cannibal Holocaust porn versions of that?
Yeah, I believe they have. I know there was a company. I don't know if they're still active, but they were going by horror porn or something along those lines, and they were doing some pretty gonzo content that honestly was amazing, with fantastic special effects, like practical effects, makeup and stuff. I have to look them up and see if they're still active, but there's definitely that sort of stuff out there where like it's amazing to watch and it's brilliant. I'm sure there's people out there that are aroused by it, but it's also like this, it's super disgusting kind of stuff. Like you seeing like a really well done decaying zombie look sort of person, like, fucking somebody. It's kind of gross, but you also can't turn your face away from it. So
definitely. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up, but I want to do a quick game with you.
All right.
This is the word association. Usually, the word association game I do is if I say chastity, you may say lock or something like that. But I'm gonna do this with films.
Okay.
Okay. So you say the first thing that pops into your head. There's
All
no
right.
wrong answer.
All right.
You just seriously, if you're thinking of sushi, and I say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you say sushi, that's fine.
Okay.
There's no wrong answer. It's
Gotcha.
This literally word association. Think of me as like a therapist.
Sounds good.
All right. All right. Poltergeist.
Ghost.
Lars Van Trier.
Ooh, pain.
Oh yeah, and I can see that. Yeah, definitely.
God, I slogged through. Sorry, no, never mind.
No. Say it. There's no.
So Nymphomaniac, split across 2 films, is like what, 4 or 5 hours long.
Something like that. Yeah.
I watched the whole thing, and the ending pissed me off so fucking much.
What was it, as the ending because of storytelling purposes, or the ending?
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but you get invested.
Now.
Yeah, I did not like the plot ending.
Well, I mean, I do, like, after all that time.
I get it. But
yeah, Skarsgård, the guy listening to her stories, just automatically thinks that he could have her, basically, and
I mean, it makes it feel like he was like prepping for that moment the whole time, though, that he was a predator the whole time, and he's just waiting for her to finish her story before he pounced, basically. I don't think her story like converted him into that or anything. I don't know. At least that's kind of what I took from it. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no, I mean, I think that people have misconceptions, just like people in the porn industry. Because you're in the porn industry or in the fetish industry, or you're a dominatrix, that you live that 24/7 and that sex is easy for you, or sex is is so, since it's just such part of your life that it's expected that you perform sex when upon request or something like that, when that's not the case.
Right.
So, and anyway, at the end of spoiler alert, at the end of Nymphomaniac, after 4 hours of her telling very graphic stories of her sex,
well, honestly, how she's been abused, like, and abused people like her whole life, like it's her expressing more her trauma, honestly.
The guy listening to the story, who eventually, who in the beginning kind of saved her, ends up just trying to have sex with her, and non-consensually,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought this is what you wanted or whatever. And then let's
And
just
then
say you hear a gunshot and it goes to her singing Hey Jude.
yeah.
Or Hey Joe. Sorry, Hey Joe. Not Hey Jude. It's totally different. It would be a totally different ending. All right, back to word association.
All right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, gosh. Chainsaw.
Okay, no, that's good. Dawn of the Dead, the original.
Ooh. Oh gosh. Controversial.
Oh, okay. Sallow, 120 Days of Sodom.
Ooh. Yeah. Illegal, I guess. Yeah. There's definitely some. Wow. Have you seen some of the behind the scenes stuff? From
Yeah,
that? Wow.
I'm fascinated with that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I need to dig. I'd love to watch a documentary on that.
There is on the Criterion Collection.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to it, but I'd love to. I need to watch it.
And I believe it's on. There's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. Like yesterday, I was watching a whole critique on it as well. It's a deep movie, it really is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Pasolini, the director, Abel Ferreira, did a movie with Willem Dafoe as Pasolini. Pasolini was murdered right before the movie was released.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and some people say he was murdered because of that movie, but it was really he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. Yeah, but it's a fascinating film, and it's a weird case where art kind of mimics life because it's Sallow is about basically as a viewer watching these horrific acts, you become just almost as guilty as the people because it's like you're complicit in watching
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, back to the rapid fire. Irreversible.
God. Subway.
All right. A Serbian film.
I'm in the documentary for it.
Get out. I want to see that documentary.
Yeah, yeah. I'm friends with Stephen Byro. Yeah, no, it's God, it's such a brutal movie. God. I'm gonna say Plastic for a lot of reasons.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll let the mind wander on that one.
Luckily, a lot of the more brutal scenes were like made out of rubber and plastic, and that's a.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
I've actually held a lot of the props from that. So
yeah, that was some brutal thing. I mean, I used to do. I was so bad. I used to when I was dating. For some reason I love showing stuff like that and Sallow and the Human Centipede to like my girlfriends, not thinking that it would be like romantic, but
oh my God, dude, you're gonna get like blacklisted.
I do well. I do. But yeah, I never.
I don't know that like a Serbian film is good first date material, man. But
no, I didn't say first date. Definitely not first date. But I remember like Melissa. She's like, I'm physically ill. She's like, I've seen your crazy movies. I'm physically ill after. I'll never watch that movie again.
I would say after Antichrist, after watching a Serbian film, those two movies in particular definitely stayed with me afterwards and kind of made me feel like, like these are not films I would necessarily recommend to somebody because you can't unwatch some things. But yeah, they're intense pieces of art.
Definitely. Okay, so let's continue. The Human Centipede.
Oh gosh, I would say Dietrich. He's always on my mind with that, just because he's such a powerful like character actor.
Definitely. Okay. And all right. Now before we wrap up, let's talk about money and getting these films produced. How do you find the money? How do you find producers?
Yeah, so I mean, I bootstrap pretty much everything at this point, unless it's a custom or something I've been hired to do. All my stuff, it's all sort of self-financed, and then trying to make it up after the fact. I guess the artist in me comes up with an idea, and I have to get it out. I have to do it. I need to create this thing, and then try and figure out how to make how to make it profitable after the fact. So I need help. I really suck at that part of it.
We all need help. Luckily, one thing I must say is that even though everyone's really out for themselves, and that's true, but the horror community and the even the BDSM fetish community, there is like a family element involved. People do help each other. The real recognizes real, so to speak. So it's like if you're a genuine person and you're trying to do something genuine, and you surround yourself with people, then that whatever you're trying to get done can get done, I think. And I think that other community, like, there's something special about the horror movie fanatics and also people who are really into independent porn as well. Independent horror movies and independent porn. I think that I don't know. It's just like film. Like just independent filmmakers in general. There's this kind of beautiful quality to it, and this this attitude and kind of bonding thing that goes on, which I think is very important. So, how can people? You got they can look for your upcoming projects and everything like that, but how can people reach out to you if they want custom, if they not just Twitter but your production company? How can they contact you to give you money to make more films?
Yeah, probably Twitter's the best way. Either hit me up directly or hit up Neo Bliss Productions. You've got my screen names there. But yeah, I'm Kevin Deckard _ for my Twitter, and Neo Bliss is Neo Bliss Prod for Twitter. And yeah, if you've got some kind of budget, I can probably figure something out to work with you.
Awesome. And you're not a replicant.
I if I were, I wouldn't be able to tell you that, right?
Yeah, good point.
You got to give me the boy comp test.
Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Please stay on the line real quick after we're done. But thank you very much. You really made my day. I could talk about movies and porn and the mixture of both, including music. I could talk about them for hours and hours and hours, and hopefully some people learned some things from this and had some laughs and overall had a good time.
I hope so. You did.
Thank you very much. It's getting late, my friends.
All right.
My Dom is calling me. Remember the cardinal rule, everybody. Be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Take care.